Throughout history, strange technologies have appeared that just shouldn't have existed. We're talking about tools, machines, and knowledge so far beyond their time, they make you wonder, were they simply lost inventions from forgotten geniuses? Were they just pieces of evidence we've completely misunderstood? Or could they be something not from here at all? Today we diving deep into three of the most perplexing technologies from our ancient past artifacts that seem way too advanced to be real. From a 2,000-year-old computer to what might be the world's first battery, these discoveries challenge everything we thought we knew about human history. So, buckle up as we explore the inventions that shouldn't exist. First up, let's travel back to 1901. Off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera, a group of sponge divers stumbled upon a shipwreck. Among the statues and pottery, they found a corroded, unassuming lump of bronze. For decades, it sat in a museum, largely ignored. But when scientists finally started examining it with X-rays in the 1970s, they were stunned. Inside that lump was a complex system of over 30 interlocking bronze gears. It was a machine so intricate, so sophisticated, that many experts initially called it a hoax. They believed it was impossible for the ancient Greeks to have created something like it. This device, now known as the Antikythera Mechanism, is essentially a 2,000-year-old analog computer. Think about that for a second. While the Roman Empire was at its peak, someone, somewhere designed a portable device that could predict the positions of the sun, moon, and planets. It could track the phases of the moon, forecast eclipses with startling accuracy, and even tell you when the next Olympic Games were scheduled. The precision was mind-boggling. It was like finding a smartphone in a medieval castle. Modern reconstructions have shown that the mechanism worked flawlessly, but its existence raises so many questions. Who built it? How did they acquire such a deep understanding of astronomy and mechanics, centuries before similar technology would reappear in Europe? The knowledge required to build this device seems to have just vanished after it was created, leaving us with a 1,500-year gap in technological history. It's a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit, hinting at a level of scientific achievement we are only just beginning to appreciate. Even today, the full story of the Antikythera Mechanism remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Now let's journey from ancient Greece to the deserts of modern-day Iraq. In the 1930s, during an archaeological dig near Baghdad, a strange object was unearthed. It was a small, unassuming clay pot, only about 5 inches tall. But what was inside it is what makes this story so fascinating. Sealed with asphalt was a copper cylinder, and inside that cylinder was a suspended iron rod. This configuration might not sound like much, but to any electrician or scientist, it looks suspiciously familiar. It's the basic setup for a galvanic cell, in other words, a primitive battery. When filled with an acidic liquid like vinegar or lemon juice, this simple jar could generate a small but steady electrical current. This object became known as the Baghdad battery. If it really was a battery, that would mean people in ancient Parthia, over 2,000 years ago, had harnessed electricity. This is a full 1,800 years before Alessandro Volta is credited with inventing the modern battery in 1800. The discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. But if it was a battery, what on earth were they using it for? The theories are all over the place. Some researchers believe it was used for electroplating, coating cheaper metals with a thin layer of gold or silver. Others suggest a more spiritual purpose. Imagine priests using a low-level electric shock to create a tingling sensation, making followers believe they were touching a divine object. Another idea is that it was used for a form of ancient acupuncture, applying small electric currents to the body for healing. Of course, skeptics argue that it could have just been a container for sacred scrolls, and the metallic parts were simply part of the storage design. But the arrangement is just too specific, too perfectly aligned with the principles of electrochemistry, for it to be a complete coincidence. Without any written records explaining its purpose, the Baghdad battery remains a tantalizing enigma. Was it a forgotten form of technology or just a really weird jar? We still don't know for sure. For our final stop, we venture to ancient India, to a time of epic tales and sacred texts. Within ancient Sanskrit epics like the Mahabharata, and a more specific text called the Vimanas, we find incredible descriptions of flying machines known as Vimanas. Now, these aren't just poetic descriptions of birds or gods flying through the air. The texts describe these Vimanas in surprisingly technical detail. They are depicted as sophisticated crafts, capable of moving through the air, into space, and even underwater. Some passages describe different types of Vimanas, built from special light metals and powered by what sounds like mercury vortex engines. The texts mention propulsion systems based on vibrations and sound, and even discuss advanced weaponry, like guided missiles and beams of energy that could disintegrate entire armies. The descriptions are vivid and precise, talking about things like pilot training, flight manuals, and aerial combat maneuvers. One passage describes a battle with a circular craft that fired weapons and moved with incredible speed. Something that sounds eerily modern. So, what are we to make of this? Were these stories purely mythological, symbolic allegories for the battles between gods and demons? Or were the ancient authors describing something they had actually seen or knew about? Skeptics argue that the Vaimanika Shastra was likely written in the early 20th century, drawing on modern concepts of aviation and mixing them with ancient lore. However, references to Vimanas appear in texts that are thousands of years old. Some engineers who have attempted to interpret the more technical descriptions say that while much of it seems fanciful, some of the underlying principles are strangely consistent with modern aerodynamics and propulsion theories. Maybe it's not a blueprint, but a memory, a distorted echo of a technology long lost to the sands of time. So we have an ancient computer, a potential prehistoric battery, and tales of sophisticated flying machines. 3 inventions, separated by continents and centuries, but all raising the same profound question. How did they know? Are these just isolated examples of human ingenuity, flashes of brilliance that were forgotten or lost? Or do they point to something more? Perhaps forgotten civilizations that reached incredible technological heights before collapsing. Or maybe they are evidence that our understanding of history, this neat linear progression from primitive to advanced, is completely wrong. One thing is certain. Our past is filled with mysteries that challenge our assumptions. These artifacts prove that ancient people were far more capable and knowledgeable than we often give them credit for. Some knowledge, it seems, might have appeared far too early, and then vanished far too quickly, leaving us to wonder and search for answers. What do you think? Were these ancient marvels the work of forgotten geniuses, or is there another explanation? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive.